Hello and welcome to Connect, the weekly podcast for the California Mortgage Bankers Association, featuring one-on-one interviews with movers and shakers in the mortgage industry. I'm Susan Milazzo, CEO of the California MBA, and very happy that you could join us today. Before I get to today's guest, I'd like to thank our 2023 President's Council sponsors. Now, these are a group of companies that have given the California MBA an extraordinary amount of financial support this year so that we can, among other things, continue to be very strong advocates for the real estate finance industry before the California State Legislature and our regulators. So join me in thanking our President's Council sponsors, AmeriHome, Arch MI, Consolidated Analytics, Funding Shield, Accelerate, Guild Mortgage, Rocket Mortgage, and Western Alliance Bank. Thank you all so much for your support in 2023. And with that, it brings me to today's guest. I'm very happy to be welcoming Carrie Nikols, who is CEO of the Nikols Company, who's manager of Nikols Mortgage Fund. Carrie, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's been such a pleasure getting to know you over the years through our association. I was very happy that it worked out that you could come on and connect with me. I always like to start by getting a little bit of history and how people got into this business. So can you give us some of your background and how you got into commercial real estate?
I probably have one of the most boring career path stories ever, but I grew up in a blue collar family. My parents never went to college. My father had a business manufacturing surveyor stakes, and they wanted me to, I was supposed to be a doctor. And I actually worked for a doctor. One summer I interned when I was in high school, and he was a pediatrician, and he took me to a C-section to witness a C-section. And I about passed out, and I said, I'm not doing this. So then it became attorney. Okay, fine, I'll go to law school. So when I went to college, I had a business. I went into business major. I was always interested in business. I thought I'd be a business attorney. And I started taking real estate classes. I was really interested in those. And then I decided, well, I'll be a real estate attorney. So I got a degree. This is why it's so boring. I got a degree in business with an emphasis in real estate finance. And I didn't have the money to pay for law school. So I was going to work for a while, save money, blah, blah. But I started with John Burnham Company, a mortgage banker. And really just loved the transactional side of the business, and started working with enough real estate attorneys that I decided I didn't really like that, because I love the deal, which I've always loved, and been very, very fortunate because I just love the deal making. So I've been fortunate that I did that as a career.
Definitely fortunate that you kind of found your passion that early in life. I mean, good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, with a long history in this business, interest rates ticking up in 2023, what asset classes do you see faring well in this type of market?
First of all, we've pivoted from fixed rate lending to floating rate over prime. We have a credit line that floats over prime, and so we can't be in a negative arbitrage situation. So of course that's all affected the underwriting with having to build a larger interest reserves and all. But as far as asset classes go, we're in California and primarily in infill locations in California, and our markets are still really strong. We're every supply and demand is in balance, and in some cases there's a dearth of supply. So we're still lending in residential, affordable residential, for sale residential developments, multifamily, industrial, and some retail, because retail's kind of turned back around with there not being a lot built in recent years. So, it's got to be anchored, or we do a lot of single tenant retail. We for a long time have had no interest in doing office product because we've been peeking around the corner for a long time. That being said, I think every deal stands on its own. So occasionally there is just that right deal. And right now we're about to close a creative office deal in a very, very strong location, extraordinary location with an extraordinary borrower. So some of this dislocation with the interest rate issues has really created for us an opportunity to pick up market share, which is what we're doing right now with this creative office deal. A bank would have done that in a minute before all of this started happening with the
Right.
bank fallout.
Just how the last handful of years have changed the market so much for, for different reasons. One, COVID, and then coming out of COVID, and now interest rates. It's just interesting times to observe the market, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I know that, I've known you and Dawn for a while. I know that Nikols Mortgage Fund is a private fund. So can you talk with us a little bit about how that structure allows more flexibility and customization for your clients looking to fund projects?
Yeah, so being a private money fund, we're regulated under the California Finance Lenders license. So it's very different than traditional lenders such as banks, which are handcuffed by a lot of regulations. So we don't have those regulations. So basically, and we have full discretion on our fund. It's Dawn and me who make all of the decisions. And I, on the loan side, I run the loan side of the business, all the way from originations on down to all the servicing and all of that. And then Dawn's responsible for the investment capital side of the business. So I'm the primary decision maker, overseeing originations and all of that. Dawn will always meet every borrower and see every property. But there's no bureaucracy. Our yes is our yes, our no is our no. If we say we're going to do it, we're going to do it. We aren't limited by loan to cost constraints. All we're limited by is what we really think, and all of our loans are they're either short-term bridge loans for properties in transition or the ground-up construction loans. So we have the ability to be highly leveraged, just looking to what the loan, where we believe the loan will be at the end of the business plan, once the project is stabilized. So we'll lend against that value, and we can and even have gone up to 100% of cost. So there's certainty of execution, there's higher leverage, all of those things that we can do with a private money lender that a traditional lender isn't able to do.
Yeah, that lack of, like you say, red tape, bureaucracy, rules. It's like you use your expertise in the industry to decide whether this is a deal that's worth partnering on with them on. That's fantastic. Over the years that I've known you, Carrie, I admire many things about you, but one thing is that I know you are very much a minority in your industry when it comes to the demographics of commercial real estate finance. Continues to be a very male-dominated industry. What would you share with a woman who is looking to enter that segment of the market?
It's funny, and it's true, and it still astounds me that there are so few women in our industry. That's kind of been true for me my whole career. When I was in business school, I was usually the only woman in my business classes. I think that's really odd. But when I entered this industry back 40 years ago, I started when I was 12, or maybe when I was 2. How about that too? There were no women, and it dumbfounds me because I really believe that women are typically uniquely skilled for what we do. They're highly intuitive, they're very detail oriented, and those are things that are really important for the commercial real estate deal making world. There are women that aren't as in the front lines of the origination deal making, and that's the biggest part that bothers me. So in fact, it's actually something that I'm taking on. I would like to encourage more young women into commercial real estate. I've actually just been going to the UCI Center of Real Estate Advisory Board, and that's one of the initiatives that I would like to dreams. Advisory board, I can do some more events and things I think are important young people.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that. So you're doing some work with UCI. That's wonderful. Yeah, we definitely need to encourage more women in commercial real estate. I agree with you. I think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity, and maybe those women listening to today's podcast could reach out to you and get some pointers on that. You know, I also know that you are heavily involved in some local charities, and I think it'd be interesting to our listeners to hear about those. You want to tell us a little bit about what you're involved with locally?
Yeah, well, first of all, our company is involved with Think Together, which is a organization that provides after-school support for homework for underprivileged children. It's something that Dawn and I have been involved in that since probably the early 90s. Our whole family volunteered in the program. And today we give every loan closing, we give a portion of that to Think Together. We're also heavily involved in the Catholic Church. We're converts to Catholicism. And that's a very important part of us is our faith. And just knowing that there's something bigger than us, getting up every day and knowing there's something bigger than us, and it's not all about the money. And we love the Catholic Church because there's such a dedication to the poor and the sick. So we have various organizations that we're very involved in the Catholic Church.
Well, thank you for that. And, you know, I think it's great when I hear companies that are, you know, been very successful where they're mindful of making sure to help charities, help nonprofits that are doing local work. I think that's just, it's so important. Every company should be doing something like that. Just pick what you're passionate about and, you know, make that your beneficiary. You know, the Nikols Company, Nikols Mortgage Fund, has been a big, longtime supporter of the California MBA and our Western States CREF Conference, for which I'm very, very grateful for the years that you guys have supported us. What can you share with our listeners about the importance of supporting the California MBA?
Well, first of all, I'll say that I always tell everybody, if you're going to go to one conference a year, that the Western States Conference is the conference, because I think that the information that's provided is excellent, not to mention all of the networking and everything. Everybody that you really need to see, especially on the transactional side of the business, they're all there. And very much appreciate that. I've been involved as a sponsor or a panelist since I think the very first year that you started the conference, but which is back in the late 90s, I believe. Yeah. So I think it's great. And I think that a lot of people honestly do themselves a disservice because they go to the conference, but they don't go to the programming. And I think that so excellent. But also above and beyond that is what the organization does with our state legislature. I mean, I think that our things have gotten more and more difficult as far as all of the legislation that's affecting our commercial real estate markets. This thing of we do a lot of industrial property, and right now, ban or a moratorium on industrial development. In Riverside, there's a lot of affordable housing. There's mansion tax. There's all these things going on in California that I think that you guys have our backs on a lot of stuff. I know the mansion tax, but I know that there's always proposals coming that don't really make economic sense, and I very much appreciate your supporting.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we're very proud of the Western States CREF Conference, year 26 this year, if you can believe that. And certainly our advocacy program is something that is the cornerstone of our association. So, you know, Carrie, thank you so much for being on Connect. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much to you and Dawn for always supporting our association. It's been great to have you on.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
And thanks to all of you for joining us today. To access any of our past episodes, you can visit us on our YouTube channel. We are also available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. That's it for this week, and we'll see you next time on Connect.